Okay. So in the last 12 months, like this is just for our Austin team. If you want to write this down, we have closed 78 sales from Sphere and Sphere referrals. So 78 sales came from Sphere and Sphere referrals. And some people are really succeeding with this. Some people are wanting to succeed with it. So I wanted to do a quick feature on someone that I think is succeeding at this right now, which is Alicia+Andrew. And I think you guys, not because somebody else isn't succeeding with Sphere, but specifically, you guys are succeeding with those cold reach outs, like the people that have been in your database, in your mind, since 30, 20 years ago, right? So what kind of results are you guys seeing from rekindling relationships?
As far as like transactions, we're seeing it from seller and buyer.
Okay. So has anybody signed anything yet that's been a regular, like somebody that's been from your distant past?
Yes. So I just closed a girl that I grew up with. I hadn't spoken to her probably since middle school, but I had reached out on Facebook, did a Facebook post like, hey, who do I know that's in San Antonio? I'm here. Who's here? And she had saw that post, reached out to me via Messenger, and lived right around the corner from me. I was like, hey.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go back to that then.
Okay.
When you made that Facebook post, did you say anything about real estate?
No, I just said who lives here in San Antonio.
Who lives in San Antonio? Okay. Okay. Awesome.
I had a similar post that brought back a guy I went to daycare with, and he's referred us out a friend.
Daycare.
Yeah, a friend that is going to be buying in the Kerrville area once they get some credit things put back together. So.
Okay. And when you did that, Andrew, was it like a Facebook post? Like what?
Yeah, I think I asked for some recommendations around the San Antonio area just to see if people would chime in on people around the area. And then
For daycares?
No.
What were you chiming in on what?
Fences.
Oh.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're putting a post that would have people from your area reply or tag somebody, and then you're doing the connection off Facebook, essentially, like either a Facebook message or a text message, something like that to then
like a thanks. How have you been? How are things in your world? What have you been up to? And then it'll just come up organically, or they've seen kind of what's going on your social media.
Okay, so your initial net that you're casting is in these situations has been a general Facebook post about like the area that you live in, and then you're just following up with those people. Okay, I like it. I like it. How many people do you think that you have reached out to between the two of you overall, like if you could guess?
So back in January, when I joined the team, I added 288 people to the sphere, or to Brevity that were in my sphere. And I've reached out to probably like 95% of them. Some of the numbers weren't good, or they don't have social media. So there are some trash ones in there, but probably 95% of that.
Okay. What about you, Alicia? Like go back to Midland initially.
Oh, I have to go back to my Brevity account. I'm like, I don't know how many people I have in my sphere. Apparently I have 559 in my Brevity, but a lot of those, they could very well be some people that I had that Andrew might have because he wasn't in real estate. So they became my sphere at that point. And I was going to make sure I got them, but I did the same thing. It was the sphere and gear, and you reach out to your 200 people and you go from there. 200 wasn't enough for me. And so I told everybody that was in my phone that had a contact number, right, Maria, wedding lists are amazing. Because you're getting your parents' friends in there and stuff like that. But I went to Facebook and exported that list and went through, and I'm like, okay, who are these people that I could possibly reach out via Messenger, rekindle that relationship, and get a phone number for?
Okay. And how long had it been since you talked to some of these people? Were these like, did you just reach out to the people you absolutely knew who was already your friend, or did you go a layer past that and just kind of go to people that you've talked to in the last couple of years? Or did you just go all out and talk to people who you hadn't talked to since you were 3?
It was different communication types for each people in the spectrum. So like the 5 years or newer, I called, and then pretty much older than that, just so it wasn't completely cold or they're like, what is going on? I would send a text and then keep that conversation going for a couple of days to where it wasn't as awkward to pick up the phone, and there was some dialogue recently that you could still talk on.
When you let's talk about those cold people for a second. So somebody that you hadn't talked to or stayed connected to, right? Because all of us are like this, right? I saw a meme the other day that said, you know, it's gonna be really awkward after COVID-19 when I start ghosting people again, right? Like we're professional ghosters, right? So let's say it's been 10 years. Like, what would you say in that text? Like, if you were texting me?
I would bring up something that would draw their memory back. So maybe something that y'all had in common at one point, like, hey, I was just thinking about X. How have you been? How's the family, kids, whatever? And then just see where it goes.
Brilliant. I was just thinking about blah, blah, blah. How's everything been for you?
Yeah.
That's really good. Really good. Because like, who can say you weren't thinking about X?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. I love that. So that's your cold text out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Beautiful. Alicia, what about you? Different method, same method?
Same method. So I think this whole interview type thing started specifically from the current active buyer I have now. I was sitting in Midland. Laura said, hey, you need to do sphere and gear. And I was like clamming up at the thought of calling people I know and asking for business. Like, not my style at all. I never want to come off as salesy or ingenuine. And I was going through my list, and there was a girl on there that I grew up with. We were best friends in middle school, high school. And then she went into the Army and I went to college, and we lost touch. And at that point I was in Midland, and I think she was either in Japan or Italy. And I remember thinking in my head, I'm like, why am I going to reach out to this person? Like, she's never going to buy a house in Midland, Texas. But I was like, what the heck? You know, I haven't talked to her in years. It'd be kind of cool to see what's up. And so reached out to her, and I knew she had family in Seguin and San Antonio, but that's not on my radar because I'm in Midland, right? And so we just kind of rekindled that relationship. I think I brought up real estate because maybe she saw it on Facebook at one point, or, hey, how's everything in Navy life going for you overseas? And, you know, what are you doing now? Just kind of catching up. It's natural when you ask somebody, how's your job? They're obviously most of the time going to ask you, what about you? What are you doing? And so a year and a half later, I find out she's in Alaska and just had a breakup, and she's getting out of active duty into the reserves and moving here to San Antonio. So she reached out to me directly and said, hey, I need a house, and I saw that you're in San Antonio now. I'll be there in a month. And this all started from a year and a half ago of just straight cold calling to rekindle a relationship and not necessarily talk about real estate.
Wow. Okay. So where I wanted you to go with this was the fact that it wasn't just talking to people who already live in your city, because a lot of people have that like myth in their head, right? I've had it. I'm not going to reach out to anybody that doesn't already live here, because like, what's the point? Like, it's not like I'm going to get real estate deals from them. And like if they do send me a referral, that's just so far off. Like, I don't want to deal with having to put that much energy into something, right? But what you're describing is not a ton of energy. It's just the rekindling of a relationship. And then just keeping that going systematically. Mm-hmm. I'm curious though, how long do you think it takes you? Like when you, like either Alicia or Andrew, when you have to reach out, like, do you just put yourself like a goal of like, okay, today my goal is 10 people, my goal is 5 people, my goal is 100 people. Like, how did you actually do it? Like if somebody wanted to start today and be like, you know what, I haven't done an amazing job, or I did it 4 years ago and I should probably just re-energize my sphere. How would you say for them to do it?
I would just follow along that sphere and gear plan. That helped it and put it into manageable, bite-sized pieces to where it's not an overwhelming number of contacts. It's still going to challenge you a little bit each day, but that really helped. And the texting helps a lot too on some of those older ones, and it takes some of the anxiety out of it. So that's really my biggest thing, is that sphere and gear plan really helped.
I mean, I don't think it ever hurts you to ever go back to the basics, no matter what you're doing. And we were on the call with our coach yesterday, and she had mentioned Ben always wants us to have 3 to 5 sources of business. So not necessarily focusing just on cold calls all the time, but always have, business coming in from other sources. And so we know sphere is always going to be one of our largest pieces of that pie. And I think it's kind of, we're doing ourselves a disservice if we're not looking at it. I'll be the first to admit, I don't look at it like I should. And after talking with you on Monday and talking with the coach, it was just kind of like, man, I really need to make a system out of my sphere, not just let it sit in my brevity. And I need to systematize it and have a plan for the sphere, because we are getting so much business from it.
Right on. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're like? Here's what people do really well. I'll tell you, people will join the team or whatever, right? And they will do their initial work, right? Their initial sphere. But then there's like not any kind of reconnecting after that, right? Or follow up. Like what have you done since the initial since the initial connection, I guess, is my question. What does a follow up with? I know you don't have a system already like perfected, but what does it look like today?
For me personally, I try to stay in front of these, like at least the San Antonio, Austin, like the 35 corridor people, at least bi-weekly. So every other week, I'm at least trying to touch base with them. I'm not as good as at the people that are in Houston, Dallas, Midland, out of state. And I have seen some friends that have, sold a home or bought a home on there that was like, shit, if I could have just touched base with them a couple more times, maybe. So we definitely need to put a better strategy around our out of town people. Mm-hmm. But the people that are local that we can help serve today, it's probably every other week that we're talking to them.
Okay, so I'm going to keep going on the every other week. How do you not let that get boring? I mean, or how do you not let it be awkward or salesy?
Don't talk about real estate. I mean, just have a conversation with them. Just keep the conversation going, the dialogue going. That way, if they ever need something, it's not awkward for them to pick up the phone, because if they've got to call somebody they haven't talked to in a while, they're going to fight the same battles that you fought whenever you picked up the phone. Okay,
so your strategy is you're staying just top of mind as a friend, and you're making sure that on your social media you're putting in content out there that people know you're in real estate. They don't have to guess you're in real estate. And so you're just talking about regular life and staying in contact with your people, like just loving on them.
Yeah, I mean, and the social media will tell you who all's engaged with your posts, your stories, whatever. So you can kind of do mental checks saying like, okay, these people have seen it. My follow-up with them doesn't need to have anything to do with they've seen that I'm still in real estate. Mm-hmm. We're good.
Okay.
You've got to focus on it as you're building a relationship, a friendship, not a business with those people. Because if you ever have that mindset, I think that's when they feel that and they see that. And then it's disingenuous and they're like, nope, see you later. I've gone as far as going to people's Facebook, liking pictures, just so I can mess with the algorithm. And hopefully when my stuff pops up on Facebook, that it shows up on their newsfeed, because we know that there's an algorithm based on interactions between people. So I've tried to.
So if they're not interacting with you, you're going to interact with them first. So Then that way the algorithm is changed. Smart.
Yep. Yeah, I also do. I haven't in the past month just with this craziness, and I've got to figure out a better system. But birthday and anniversary physical cards I've always sent out since I've started. And I didn't think that was ever going to be a big thing, but I've gotten shout outs on Facebook about it. People text me after that. Thank you so much for thinking about us. That was so sweet. We've been to banquets and whatnot, and people have made comments like, Alicia's so good about dates and stuff like that. Like I always get a birthday card from her, and I'm just like, man, if only they knew how much energy that takes. But it means a lot to them, and it's just another level, another type of touch. It's not a phone call, it's not a text, it's not a Facebook post. It's just another touch.
Right on. I love that. I love that. Any other relationships that have been rekindled that maybe aren't sales yet, but surprised you?
Yeah, so when I first moved out to San Antonio, I mean, I think I was here less than a month, and my sister's high school friend, her mom in Seguin was thinking about selling, and they had reached out to me. It's on pause right now. They're not really ready to move forward, but that one, I was like, what? Who is this?
So what I hear you say is sphere referrals become part of your business when you keep in touch with your sphere. So like, I want people to really understand that part, right? Because we had 78 sales from sphere and sphere referrals, right? In the last 12 months. Those 78 sales, the bulk of them came from 6 of our agents. We have 18, right? So there's a lot of opportunity, right? Like just think about like the opportunity that you have in your sphere, no matter where they live, because sphere referrals are so valid, right? And it's kind of one of those, like we talk about listings being leveraged. Sphere is one of those things. Sphere is leverage because your sphere can then give you a sphere referral, not just themselves work with you, right? And then as you add to your sphere, as your business grows, your past clients are also part of your sphere. So then that's the whole sphere category is now sphere referral, past client referral. It takes on a life of its own. And that's why you, like, when you see me do shout outs for people, it's like, it's always like sphere, or it's always sphere referral. Like they must be so special. I don't think they're special. I think you guys are great. I don't think you're special. I think you've decided, you know what? This is where I'm going to plant my flag, and my flag is planted here. So I'm going to do something about it. And then you find like 3, 4, 5 max places to plant your flag. And that's all. You don't try to do it all. You just do a couple things really, really well. And you improve on it every month, right? And that 1% improvement every month turns into 1% business improvement, right? So I love to see that. That's why I wanted to feature you guys, is because you've decided to plant your flag, and it's not even a flag that's like maybe perfect yet, right? It's kind of like to the side a little bit, but it's planted, and you're getting results even from doing just very basic things at this point, right? Consistently, right? Mm-hmm. Anything else that you guys want to share as we wrap this up?
If you can't get their info, you can go on LinkedIn and friend them, and you can snatch it from there. Phone and email is usually pretty easy to get on LinkedIn for people.
Because they want
their recruiters to be able to go track them down. So
right on. I know one of the very first things you did is you sent me a LinkedIn request. Like it was pretty instant. I was like, oh, okay, this guy is like doing something. I always know when people are working on their 200 because I start getting requests. If I don't get requests, I know somebody is not working on it.
That's funny.
All right. What do you have, Alicia?
For me, a lot of it was changing my mindset around it. I remember Laura, I just could not pick up the phone to call Sphere. I couldn't do it. And Laura was like, it's kind of selfish. And I was just taken back. I was like, excuse me? And she said, you're just assuming that's what they're thinking about. And so it's almost like you're giving them their own thoughts. Let them have their own thoughts about you. And honestly, most people aren't thinking about you and what you sound like. They're probably more worried about them and like, oh my gosh, Alicia's calling me. I haven't talked to her in years, and I hope I don't sound stupid. And, so just get over the mindset that it's about business. It's not about business. It's about a relationship and having a relationship with that person. The business is just kind of the brownie points that come with it.
I like that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they didn't pick up the phone either and call you, and y'all exchanged numbers at some point for some reason. So
Get over the guilt.
yeah,
Whoa.
get over it or delete them.
Yeah, pretty much. I love that. I love that. Any questions from the group? If anybody's thinking of questions, I'll end with a quick story. So I was trying to call our broker, Linda Ramsey, right? And I'll tell you guys, I just clicked on Linda Ramsey on my phone and I called her. And when it came up to the voicemail, it was a very pleasant voicemail. And I said, "Hey, Linda, it's Adelina, blah, blah, got your message, calling you back. It's 5:55 or something like that. I just really wanted her to make sure that I called her back, right? Because she's our broker." And, hung up the phone, and Linda Ramsey calls me back. And she's like, "Hello?" And I'm like, "Hello." And she's like, "Wow, so surprised you called." And I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know. What's going on with you? I haven't talked to you since you left Knoxville." And I'm like, "What?" And then I realized there is another Linda Ramsey that I know in Knoxville, Tennessee, that I haven't talked to in 8 years. And I was like, "Oh my God, Linda, I can't even tell you what just happened." But like, my broker is also Linda Ramsey, and I was trying to call her. So I actually wasn't trying to call you. However, how are you? Right. And guys, she since then has married an actor. She lives in LA. She is very active in the real estate community. She's very active in general, and we have since rekindled that relationship just because I called the wrong person. I called the wrong Linda Ramsey, right? I called the Asian version, not the Texas version. So I wanted to share that with you guys because, like, man, people don't take it weird. They just don't. She was just so interested. She's like, "I've been following you on Facebook. Oh my God, I can't believe what a star you've become." And I'm like, "Me, a star?" People think you guys are awesome. Just by the fact that you guys post awesome stuff in Facebook, people actually believe it. They believe all your hype. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. If there's any questions, now is a good time. If not, I'm going to click stop recording.
I have a comment.
Yes, please.
Like an aha with Alicia and Andrew. So I know that sometimes we all get in our heads like Alicia did. I've gone through that, especially because I wasn't from Austin. And in San Antonio, there's been a lot more sphere. I think all of my clients right now are sphere or sphere referral or sphere of a sphere inception style. But for Alicia and Andrew, neither of them are from San Antonio. They went to school at Texas State in San Marcos, but before that, they're from like the Houston area. So they just jumped in and did it. And it turns out that it's a small world, and you probably have someone that you know, or a couple degrees of separation from a couple people that will reach out to you. And with Sphere, this kind of touches back to what Adelina was talking about on Monday or Tuesday about having competition, practicing scripts, because you do have competition. The great thing with Sphere is that you're rarely going to have competition. But even those friends are probably not reaching out to them saying, "Hey, what do you need? How are you? By the way, do you have real estate plans?" But they're just easier leads to work with. But I wouldn't assume that you don't have anybody close to you, because that's what I did. It was a mistake. Alicia and Andrew are proof that if you just get over that mindset, you'll get some people right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've gotten some, or a deal Alicia just got one under contract. The people didn't use us, but we wouldn't have met them if it wasn't for becoming friends with them in San Antonio. And they didn't elect to use us, but they said, "Hey, use them." So
so it was the first, I guess, couple friends we met out here. They ended up just selling, and they're moving to Dallas, and they knew we were agents, but they have a very strong relationship with their current realtor. And I mean, the lady goes to their baby showers, contributes to their 429 or 529, whatever the college fund is. And I told them, I was like, "Man, I respect that loyalty, and I hope that all of my clients will stay loyal to me as well." So no hard feelings, but they've since referred other people to us. And I was also going to say that, yeah, that was a huge mindset I had was, I'm not from here. I don't know anybody here. And immediately when we got out here, Emma started preschool. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to make my sphere here. And I threw a preschool pool party at our house. I don't recommend that, guys, by the way. It's very hectic. But I did meet a couple that they're potentially going to want to move one day, and they've already reached out to me, and I've started nurturing them through that. So there's ways to build your sphere in a town or a city that you know nothing about.
Right on, right on. Thank you for sharing with us this morning, and just really rekindling maybe that desire to even work our sphere, right? And maybe work it a little more systematically. So thank you for that. For